The empathy is not autistic. I'm incredulously watching this video of a young girl saying how she's on the spectrum of autism. She has a diagnosis and probably medication as well. She's talking about her sensitivities, her adherence to routines and her need for private time alone. She thinks there's something wrong with her. I commented that she's a very advanced type of human being and there's nothing wrong with her. Is this what they're telling kids now? That they're sick? Nobody ever told me I was autistic. I have an autistic older brother and I suppose because of him they didn't think that I could be. I was a nervous wreck as a child because I was seeing beyond this dimension and at night was suffering from demonic attacks. That would make anyone nervous, especially since I shouldered this all with no support from my family, only ridicule. This girl is saying that there's a spectrum and she would be classified as a high-functioning autistic. She said that sometimes she can't get words out of her mouth, like when she's really emotional. Sure, rebalance your chakras and those words will come flying right out. I used to have the same thing. She's confusing being empathic with being autistic. I'm sure hoping that her diagnosis will disappoint her and that she will continue to search for answers as to why she's different from others. I believe some of the things she's talking about are adaptations and compensations she's made in order to fit in. The gut issues she speaks of also come about from having a lower vibrational diet than she actually needs. Remember, the food on this planet is by and large third-dimensional, not 5D food. It tastes good but the benefits stop there. One thing, it's loaded with salt and that alone can cause the constipation she's experiencing. Here's a comment from Melinda. I am 62 years old and all my life people have called me odd, quirky, unusual, or weird. Sometimes meaner things were said. Only ever diagnosed with depression and anxiety, I've never had a way to describe and accept who I am. Struggling to maintain the level of normal behavior others expect from you is constantly exhausting. Hearing these behaviors codified, so many I can identify with, is helpful, even comforting. Thank you for bravely sharing. Poor Melinda's been struggling to maintain the level of normal behaviors others expected from her. Well, Melinda, there's one way to stop doing that, and that's to stop doing that and start being yourself. Wow. 3D is so toxic. Here's a comment from Susie, who's 61 years old. I'm 61 years of age. I've dealt with anxiety and depression most of my life, only being diagnosed as an adult. My whole life, even throughout childhood, I've felt like the odd one in a crowd/group of people. I've always been a loner, introspective, and learned to be extra cautious in social situations. I'm often misunderstood by others, even to the point of people being offended by my words/speech. As a result, they get negative with me, which then offends/hurts me. I also remember people's faces, but never names. So much so that I warn a new acquaintance of it because I know I'll forget it right away. I also do feel deeply about most things and can get very emotional. Some of the traits spoken of here are familiar to me. I'm wondering if I'm on the spectrum. Look how ready these people are to call themselves damaged goods just because that's what society calls them. Wow. Could all those people be wrong? Yes, they are wrong. Doctors are wrong, shrinks are wrong, and the public is wrong. Imagine calling someone on the spectrum because they don't fit in. Wow. These poor empaths go through their lives thinking there's something wrong with them when in fact they are connected to the one through their empathy. Imagine when they start having psychic experiences. Wow. They'd better get to the doctor and get some drugs to stop that, because then more people will call them weird. Listen, people call me all kinds of things, but I would not give up one iota of my life's experiences, as shitty as some were, and all of who I am now, for all the gold in Africa. No way. I know there's nothing wrong with me. I'm an advanced human being who came to this planet to help it restart its ascension process again. It's people like these poor women's friends and family who believe they're flawed because they don't fit the mold. That kind of thinking sucks. Humans are diverse and individualistic. They're meant to be different, not all the same. Here's Lindsay, who's 58. I'm 58 and only just realized this year that I am autistic. Now my life makes sense. Enjoy the 3D timeline, Lindsay, because you are not waking up. I feel sorry for you. Here's another one. At 70 years old, I was the weird old lady who lives at the end of the road, as neighbors would describe me. Not one doctor knew what I was going through on a daily basis, and I was labeled antisocial. Nowadays, even though doctors know better about the disorder, any doctor I go to refuses this diagnosis for me due to my age, saying it's never been documented in my medical file, therefore it's not what I have. They choose to stick with what was previously diagnosed, unsociable and irate. Very disheartening to me. But, fortunately, my daughter and granddaughter are diagnosed properly on the spectrum. Wow. The weird old lady who lives at the end of the road. I can understand empaths being angry. Why? Because they're picking up on that frequency and having to transmute it, never mind they're being confronted by a world that outright rejects them. Also because empaths are of high energy, they're prone to more attacks by demonic attachments. This world is infested with them, and that's why you have to eschew diagnoses like these and begin to find your own answers. The stigma behind being diagnosed with anything is crippling as it is, but then being misdiagnosed as autistic or with Asperger's when you're an empathy is a travesty. Our medical system needs new doctors. I'm sure the light is working on bringing them into the system with the ability to properly diagnose empathy and not as being a mental illness, for God's sake. The problem with our medical system right now is its focus on the idea that there is one body, the physical body, and nothing beyond that. Nothing could be further from the truth. Using this model, how could psychology be any better? I'd love to see what would happen to me if I told some doctor that I'm not only an empathy, but a consciousness from another planet who's left that body to be born here on Earth. My life partner is commanding a spaceship that flies above Canada, and he's trying to pick me up so we can be together on his mothership, which is named after me. Yeah, they'd be pulling out the anti-hallucination drugs PDQ. Until we have doctors that are starseeds doing this light work, we will have a hard time changing this old clunker of a third-dimensional medical system. By the way, such a doctor is Dr. Christopher Macklin, who works with the Arcturians, I believe, and Michael Jaco just interviewed him. You might be interested, so I'll link it in. By the way, yes, now that I think of it, there is one doctor who is an empathy, and her name is Dr. Judith Orloff. I'd put money that Christiane Northrup is as well, but she doesn't seem focused on the subject of empathy like Dr. Orloff is. I'll link Dr. Orloff's website, and she has many resources to avail yourself of. Folks, be grateful you are aware that you're a starseed or empathy, because otherwise you could end up like one of these unfortunate women, being rejected by everyone including yourself for being who you are. Sharon.